we're going to flip this little tray, a wonky little bench, and an empty door frame. Today we're making beautiful farmhouse porch decor. This is part of the What Would You Make challenge, and these are our hosts. Look in the description box to find their videos as well as the entire playlist for the challenge. I'm Melissa. This is CraftCrumbs. Thank you for joining me. All of the items that we're flipping today came from Goodwill at half off the sticker price. They all have black tags, which means we paid 50% of what they originally asked for. I can't really see the price tag on this one, but I know it was dirt cheap, and we're going to make it beautiful. I'm going to start by removing this centerpiece from the frame. I'm going to use 120 grit sandpaper to remove the grunge. I took that frame outside and gave it a coat of this Vaspar metallic silver paint, and while that's drying, we're going to get to work on the centerpiece. I want to do a modern farmhouse design on this tray. I'm going to tape it off in a few different areas, and then I'm going to alternate between gray chalk paint, which I believe is the color Elephant, and then the ivory chalk paint. If this first flip feels rushed, it's because it's rushed. These challenges have a deadline, and I'm bumping right up to it. In fact, I'm probably a little late. You might notice a color shift here, and that's just because it's a new day when I began working on this again, and it's cloudy outside, so it's not as bright. I'm going to go through my stickers and see if I can find something I like to put on the tray. Well, that was easy. I would rather use rubble and transfers for this, but I've really been trying to not use rubble and transfers as often in my DIYs because I'm just afraid you guys are tired of them. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. Maybe I'm just imagining it. I'm placing these stickers down after cutting them in half. I'm going to do this twice, once on each side of the tray. These are PET stickers that have that flawless, almost invisible backing. To remove that backing, you're just going to take one of the corners and rock it back and forth like you're folding it from one side to the other, and you'll begin to see the separation. Once I have the stickers down, I'm going to use the sticker backing to varnish them on just one last time. And then I'm going to use Mod Podge to cover the entire face of the tray. I guess I wasn't too sure about them sticking, so I lift up the stickers and Mod Podge under them as well. These will still be very easy to remove if I choose to later. I'm going to put this piece back inside its frame. I'm going to stage this along with the other thrift flips in this video at the very end so you can see how beautifully they come together. Let's just let Maisie get her nestle check in. She has to check everything that comes in the house to see if she can lay down in it. But let's take a closer look at this stool. This thing is really beat up. We're going to have to put some serious work into this. I've flipped stools in the past, but nothing this bad. In fact, every stool that I've flipped was brand new and optional. Here's a Dollar Tree multi-purpose stool that I flipped last year on the channel. I'll link it in the description if you haven't seen it and want to. This is a Five Below flip that was all natural wood before I got my hands on it. The new addition required sanding, scraping, and more sanding. Before I can go any further, I have to apply primer to give me the best start that I can get. This is the Bullseye 123 primer. I'll link it down below for you if you'd like to check it out. This took 2 coats of the primer and I let each coat dry in between. And now I'm going in with a little bit of wood filler on the edge here. I would link this down below for you, but I actually don't recommend it. It was pretty nightmarish to use. I was trying to fill in the crack between the 2 boards that it looks like it took to build up the seat to this stool. To get the light color of gray that I needed for the legs, I mixed a little bit of black acrylic paint into some white chalk paint, and it gave me a nice smooth consistency, which is awesome. And then I used that and applied it all over the legs to this stool. Now I'm going in on the top of the stool with white chalk paint, and it'll go all the way around the outer edge as well. She's looking pretty, cleaning up very nicely. The next thing I want to do is start planning the way I want the top to look. This is a piece of rice paper that I picked up from my favorite Etsy store. I will try to link this particular paper down below. I think it was on clearance when I bought it, so I'm not certain that it's still in stock. I'm going to pull away those edges and set it aside. I'm going to apply a lace stencil to this and roll over it using acrylic paint in the color Elephant. And I'm just lightly grazing over it. I'm not really applying any pressure here. Once that's dry, I'm going to change the roller and go over this lightly with white chalk paint. By the way, I am using a foam roller cover on this. Anytime I'm painting wood that has a sizable surface, I can count on the foam roller to give me the smoothest finish possible. I have pretty good coverage here. I'm going to give it a quick dry with my Wagner heat gun. This is not your ordinary craft heat gun. If you were to pass over your hand with this or another industrial heat gun, it would burn you, so you want to be very careful. I like this for projects with multiple layers and where I'm kind of pinched for time. It gets the job done much faster. I think that I have overcome my battle with Mod Podge. It has just been like an ongoing issue. And, when you have a problem, you just have to fix it. But in some cases, I'll struggle with it for a little while before it occurs to me to do something about it. I actually decanted my most recent jar of Mod Podge into one of these wide mouth jars that's airtight from the Dollar Tree. I wanted something I could not only keep airtight and clean around the rim, but have something larger that I can dip my tools into. Maybe you're already doing this, and if you are, shame on you for not sharing. These are the kind of tips that we should be sharing in the comment section. So if you have any, mention it down below and allow other crafters like us to take advantage of some of these time and money saving options. Now that I've babbled my way through applying the rice paper to the top of the stool, I'm going to take a 120 grit sandpaper and sand off those edges. Here I had a little bit of a white space. It was kind of bothering me. It didn't seem cohesive with the rest of the design. So I'm going to take more of that gray elephant paint and just kind of like dab it in those white areas. And then I'll dab in some white chalk paint to blend it together. Do we have any finger painting experts in the room? Because I'm in serious need of one. While I was doing this, I was thinking about what solution I could use on the outer edge of the seat because the white paint that I applied accentuated all of the nasty little details that I couldn't sand or scrape off. So I came up with kind of a unique way. I've used this method on other things in the past. I don't think ever on my channel. This sheet of decorative screening came in a larger pack that I picked up from Temu. In the past, I've used cheesecloth to accomplish this, but didn't have any on hand. To adhere this to the outside of the seat, I'm going to first choose my paint color and then mix in some white Elmer's glue. A glue that would be even better for this step would be Aleene's Tacky Glue or something along those lines. Even Fabric Fusion would work well. So mixing that in with the paint, and I'm going to start brushing it on like I would any other paint. And then I'll lay down those individual sheets of this decorative paper, and this is going to camouflage the outer edge, add texture, and you'll never know that there was some kind of an issue dwelling beneath. When doing this, you want to make sure that the paper, or I don't know why I'm calling it paper because it's more of a lace, you want to make sure that that is fully saturated to get that adhesion you need. If you find that there's a part that just refuses to stick down, you can add straight glue onto it because as long as it dries clear, it won't make any difference. One way to get a potential buyer to accept something they haven't seen before is to tie that same concept in somewhere else on the piece in a way that they have seen before. I'm going to use one of these wet lace pieces and stamp it on in different areas. I set this aside to dry overnight, and coming back the next morning, I felt like that pink outer edge was just a little too bright. So I'm going to go over it with a lighter coat of pink, and I liked this a lot better. Here's what the completed stool top looks like. I did do a little extra something on the legs, but I'm going to show that to you at the end in the final reveal. Now that you're warmed up, we're going to take a look at this amazing find. This door, which looks like it had something glued to the front of it at some point, was half off the $4.99 sticker price. We're going to turn this into a stunning farmhouse porch leaner. This door is longer than my craft table, and it's longer than what I can put in view all at once. I'm going to move it around as I go so that you don't miss a thing. The first thing I'm going to do is remove this handle. It looks like somebody actually snipped the end of the bolt off, possibly with bolt cutters to shorten it. And that really makes it difficult to get the nut off. I grabbed a pair of heavy duty pliers and was able to get it off. I'm going to use my planing tool to remove any raised areas, including the accumulated glue around the outer edge of the opening. I love this planing tool. I actually have a larger one as well. It's probably about 3 times the length of this one, and it's perfect for larger projects. Let me know if you already have one of these or if this is your first time seeing and hearing about it. I'm going to use my sanding tool to remove any excess lumps and bumps and just really get that surface as smooth as possible. I was pretty sure that I was going to paint this when I first started working on it, but as I'm sanding and removing some of the white paint and that natural wood is peeking through, it occurs to me that I'm not going to paint anything on this. It looks beautiful. When sanding, pay special attention to areas like corners and joints that would have normal wear and tear, and distress those areas a little bit more. This is what it looks like so far, and I'm so glad I didn't have to paint this thing. The next step is to get some Waverly antiquing wax on these paint sticks. I cut them down to fit across the opening in the door. I have 4 here, but I actually only end up using 3. And we're going to use these as places where you can hang things on the front of the porch leaner. For this next step, I'll be using 4 of these boxwood placemats from Walmart. You'll need 4 for the project, but I actually bought 5, and I'll show you why in just a few minutes. I'm going to take my staple gun slash nail gun and start attaching this to the front in sections. You want to make sure that when you're stapling this part on that you're pulling it absolutely taut so that there's no give in the mat once it's attached. If you need a little help seeing where you're putting the staples, you can pull a few of those little sprigs off and then just reattach them when you're done. I'm spacing the placemats about 2 inches apart, and I'm using my angle ruler to make sure that I'm putting them on straight. A normal person would use about 8 staples, 4 on each side to attach these. I used more like 6 or 8 on each side just because I kept misshooting, or I would get it only part way on. But that's okay, I'm getting better as I go. We can do hard things, yes or yes. I was watching TV while making this and kept popping all over the place. I first finished the latest episode of Days of Our Lives, then turned on YouTube and caught up on all the latest true crime, then switched over to HBO Max. Really couldn't find much there. But before I knew it, this project was done, or at least the hard part was done. The 5th mat that I bought was solely to pick off sprigs and fill in on the others where there were bald areas. I need to change from staples to brads in my nail gun, so I'm going to do that now. If you don't have something like this, you can use staples for the entire project. I'm going to place one of these paint sticks between each of the mats and nail them down. It sure helps to have it turned on. I think this step would be optional. I'm using florist wire to connect each of the mats to the one before it. I'm going to twist it and then face the sharp ends down. Here I'm showing you all of my mistakes. I think I have 2 nails and then several staples. I do not, however, have any holes in my fingers or other body parts, so no injuries. Here's what it looks like so far. We're going to stage it in just a few minutes. One of the items I want to use to stage it is this child's birdhouse. It has a bunch of wood pieces. I assembled that and now I'm going to paint it. I first coated it with Waverly antiquing wax and now I'm going to whitewash it with white acrylic paint. I added a bead hanger and glued a few small succulents to the opening in the front of the birdhouse. Who agrees it's stinking cute? Let's look at the final reveal photos. Here are the 2 jars we made in a video last year displayed on the tray. A front view of the stool. A top view of the stool. Okay, close your eyes because I added a few things to the porch leaner. Up at the top there is the DIY we made in our last video. And then I wanted to show you how I hung different items on here with S-hooks. So there's our little birdhouse we just did. I have a wreath, this beautiful little hat that I also thrifted along with a bunch of sisters to it. And this is one of those pails that has the hook on the back. So I'm just hanging that on the wood piece. You can hang things on those wood pieces as well as right through. Here's everything staged together. The piece that you see on top of the stool didn't make it in this video, but I have a nice start to my farmhouse porch decor. I had so much fun flipping these pieces and sharing some tips along the way. Go down into the comments and let me know one thing that you learned in this video that you didn't know before. Subscribe for more DIY home decor inspiration. If you're in the mood for more DIYs, check out this video next. And until next time, my friend, don't forget to craft what you love.